Hi, welcome back. You ready to push on with our adventure? Let's go. It's Gandalf's turn. So they've got some Lembas, which isn't helping because that's only useful when corruption is in play. Well, I could use it, but Pippin looks like Pippin's going. So if I attach this to Pippin and Pippin gets cycled, any attachments go with him. So yeah, we're going to leave that for now. This is corruption. So at the moment, we've got 2 skulls, that's 2 corruption from the shadow versus 2 defense. So that's a 0. That would mean we win. They're going to bring in the Easterling, which will give them a 3rd. For every skull over and above the defense, that's 1 corruption. Right? That's 1 victory point effectively to shadow. Paths are always won and lost by the Free People's player, and we'll get these victory points if we win. If we lose, the path is discarded and Shadow's just winning based on corruption. How much more corruption did they add than the defense value, than the number of shields? Okay, so these victory points are only really relevant to us. It's the number of skulls that's important to Shadow. So effectively, we can let them win, take corruption, then perhaps use the Lembas on Frodo and then remove that corruption. So that's kind of what we're thinking. For now, I think we are, for now, I think we are just passing. Saruman then, they're just going to draw a card. Oh, and it is Saruman. It's the Saruman character. Don't think Saruman can go anywhere. Pass 5 to 6, so it's too soon for Saruman to appear. Isengard is not going to attack either of these battlegrounds, so no, that's another card in their reserve. Aragorn hasn't got any cards, he's passing, so Bill Fernie, again, drawing a card. They've got 3 cards. And they've pulled the Black Serpent, a Southron character. Now we do have a Southron army to support them, so that would allow them to go to a location with 2 attack. Dol Amroth has got 2 defense, so it's still not enough. They need 3, right? Yes. So at the moment we're still winning both of these. What's interesting actually with these events, you'll notice, all right, they've got this army out now, so they're starting to mount an attack. But when I played that event, it was this one, the Black Captain, activate Minas Tirith. The rules for the Automa, for the bot player, don't actually qualify what to do with an event. This flowchart summary is only applying to characters and armies. And all it says, when you draw an event, play it. That's it. That's the limit of the rules for events. Draw an event, play it. So that's what I've been doing. But I did some research on this because it seemed like, the designer went to some effort to talk about what usefully means. So in this flowchart, it uses the word usefully. But obviously this flowchart is not applying to events, so usefully doesn't come into it, right? Also I thought, so that's the rules as written, but the designer has actually qualified. His intention was that he wanted usefully to apply to events as well. So I guess that's an errata. So if you want to play as per designer's intent, apply the usefully rule to events as well, which would mean they wouldn't have played Minas Tirith, because for this event to be useful, that means they had to conceivably win, or be able to conceivably win, in order to put this new battleground in play, or activate this new battleground. So instead, you were meant to do the if not possible. If not possible, even though it is, cycle this card. So this should really say, if it's not possible or it's not useful, cycle this card. Does that make sense? So that's the intent of the designer. So inadvertently, what I've done is made this game a little bit easier. So Minas Tirith might not be here, but I'm going to keep it because I need all the help I can get. But if you want to play as per designer's intent, do that with events. The way I'm playing it does make it a little bit easier, a little bit quicker. You're not having to think about, is it useful, and then does conceivably win apply. But I don't know, let's see how it plays out. I mean, the idea, if you play it as written, there's a chance that he's going to mount enough forces to take this place. But at the moment, it still can't conceivably win. This is going into the reserve. Okay. So it's back to Frodo. We have Frodo, that's the only card we got. Now the question is, do we want to go to Gildor's encampment or not? The Easterlings are going to come in, that's going to push it to 3. If I come in, that's going to draw it level. Maybe I'll just pass and wait. I think this is it. I think we're all just passing. Let's pass and wait. Because it's the Witch King now. They've got a skull here, which means they are going to play it. Yeah, so this is a move action. Now again, the Shadow's breaking the rules. For us, we can't move cards that we've played this turn, this round, into a location. But the Shadow can. So they're playing this to reserve and then moving it. So here we are then. Pippin is now 1 shield, 2 shields. And we've got 3 skulls. We ignore all this stuff, right? That only happens when we're at Battlegrounds. At past, we're just looking at the corruptions, these skulls. Okay. Gandalf, do you want to do anything? No, Lembas is still not helping us. Yep, Gandalf is passing. Saruman is drawing cards. And it's another Goblins of the Misty Mountains. Okay. Another Goblin. These are stacking up. Keep them in their left to right order, because that order is significant. Okay, Aragorn's passing. Bill Ferny's going to draw a card, and it might well be that they get enough now to come out and take a battleground. No, they've drawn a ruffian. Path number 2, so this skull's not working. There aren't any ruffian armies. It's not going to any of these battlegrounds either. When played, draw up to 7 cards, one at a time, and play the first ruffian army or ruffian character drawn, and then stop and cycle the unplayed. Okay. So we're looking for 7 cards. We're looking for ruffians. Well, there you go. It's the first one we drew. That's a ruffian character. It's going to get played, and it can be played to path number 1. Interestingly, it won't be, because the Shadow player is currently winning there. They only play another to this path if they are currently losing. So that's the other thing about the Shadow player here, is they don't overload a path. I mean, they could be piling on tons of skulls here and getting lots of corruption, but they don't. So this goes into the reserve. If in reserve, use an action, cycle this card, and the Hobbit player must forsake 1 card. All right, so that's a useful action. So we'll place that on here. They're going to do that next time. Okay, so now then, do we want to play Frodo here? If I play Frodo here, if I had played Frodo here, then Ted would have come here. Interesting. It's whether I want Frodo to pull in another card out onto this path. Let's do it. Let's use our hobbits. Okay, Witch King, you're next. I've got 2 cards left. And what have we got? A Fell Beast. This is an event. It says, choose, add 2 attack, 2 defense to a Nazgul on a battleground. Forsake 2 cards to add 1 corruption, or draw 2 cards. So we've got a choice here. Now, when given a choice, we have to choose. Now, they can't do the first one because there are no Nazguls on battlegrounds. We could have them draw 2 cards, or we could have them forsake 2 cards to add 1 corruption. I think we're going to have them forsake 2 cards. We don't want them drawing more cards, because if they draw more cards now, that's just giving them more stuff to do. And 1 corruption we might actually be able to deal with. So why don't we do that? Let's have them choose forsake 2 cards to add 1 corruption. This is eliminated. And remember, the priority order on forsaking is cards in reserve first. So that's cycled. Then cards in their hand. So this card is cycled, and then it would be eliminate top card of their deck. But they do win 1 corruption. Alright, so that's for a shadow player, and 1 corruption up. Gandalf. At this point, we'd like to play the Lembas, but we haven't got any cards to cycle that allows us to do it. So we're going to hold back. I mean, there's no rush. Playing this any point will do the job. I mean, corruption's going to stick around until the end of the game. So there's no rush to play this. I'm just going to pass. So it's back to Saruman. Saruman's got 2 cards left. Another monstrous character, Candle of Corpses. So +1 corruption on the Dead Marshes, path 6 to 7. And then it also hurts us on paths 8 to 9 as well. So that's going to sit around in reserve unless we can get rid of it before then. Okay, I'm happy with that. Aragorn's passing. Bill Ferny. The shadow player will rarely pass. The only time they will pass is if they're winning in every place, or when they run out of cards. And even if they're winning in every place, if another player's over the carryover limit, in other words, has to act, this is going to keep going until they can exhaust their hands. So right now, that's all they're doing. So Ted's got a red, and this is why these tokens are useful. We just know that's an action that's going to be resolved now on Ferny's turn. So they're cycling Ted, and then the Hobbit player must forsake 1 card. We've got nothing in our hand. We don't want to get rid of either of these, so it's a card from the top of our deck. And it's Gimli. No. Unlucky. Gimli has thrown himself down. And more like he's gotten drunk somewhere with that ruffian Ted. Probably ended up in a ditch. I don't know. Gimli's out of it. That's the long and short. What a shame. One of our dwarves is down. This is the danger of forsaking a card from the top of your deck. You really don't know what you're going to lose. Yeah, not happy about that. Frodo character's doing nothing. Back to the Witch King. Witch King is also doing nothing. They've got no actions, no cards. Saruman's got a card left. Let's see what it is. It's an Isengard. It's an event woven of all colours. Choose. We've got another choice. We can either take Saruman from the eliminated pile into hand. Well, Saruman's not eliminated. He's right here. We can add a corruption or forsake 2 cards and add 2 corruption. So we could potentially give them 2 corruption and forsake those 2 cards, giving away 2 points. That's quite a lot, isn't it? I think we're just going to give them 1 corruption. And then that event's out of it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. They get a 2nd corruption. Okay. Sorry, that was Gandalf passing. Saruman. Yep, now we're back to Aragorn. Yeah, Gandalf passed. Then it was Saruman. I mean, Gandalf didn't have to pass, but he did pass. The round ends once everybody passes. So as of now, the turn is ending here. The last person to act was Saruman. Aragorn's passing. Bill Ferny's still got a card left. So yeah, they're still to act. And it is Mirkwood Skirmishers. Right, but they can't go here, so they're going into the reserve. And they have an active action here. If in reserve, use an action to activate the Woodland Realm if it's in the Free People's Battleground deck, which it would be, and then move this card to the Woodland Realm. Oh, wow, okay. So they're going to be performing a bit of a counter next time. Right, Frodo's doing nothing. Witch King's doing nothing. Gandalf, do you want to use your Lembas? This is an option now. Because we could get rid of those 2 corruption using both those hobbits, but we'd have to forsake a card because we haven't got a card to pay for it. So we can either use it now by forsaking a card, we can hold on to it and hope we get 2 hobbits on a path again. I think we will. I think we will. I mean, the other thing is we might lose this card. That's the other downside. Yeah. So I could play it. 2 points is 2 points. What do you think? Forsake this card to play the Lembas? I think so. 2 points is a lot to be fighting for. Well, it's just costing me 1 card. What did we lose? Glorfindel. Ouch. We lost an elf. So an elf has come to our rescue at Gilda's encampment, sacrificed himself. But then we do have the Lembas. That's Gandalf. Saruman's doing nothing. Everyone's doing nothing. Bill Ferny's the only person who can do something with his Mirkwood skirmishers, and this is actually going to help me. And they're going to act, and actually Frodo can do something next time. He can use the Lembas. Yes. Okay, but Bill's going next, because there's an action here. If in reserve, use an action to activate the Woodland Realm if it's in the Free People's Battleground deck, and then move this card to the Woodland Realm. Okay. So the Woodland Realm is here. We've got another battleground. And these guys are coming in here. Now, the interesting thing here is that that's 1 attack against 1 defense. We can't use any of our guys because they've all been played this turn and our hands are empty. So the Woodland Realm is kind of defenseless, and they can bring in Eastlings, Monstrous, and Mordor troops. They only need 1 more swords here to take the Woodland Realm. So we're going to lose this battleground. But first we've got to activate. So the elf player draws 1 card and then cycles 1 card from their hand. Right, well that doesn't help, because that's just draw a card. It's the Bow of Galadrim. Perhaps the Woodland Realm have used their bow to ward off the skirmishers, but finally they've been overcome. The bow has been used. Alright. Okay, Bill, that's you done. So now we can use our Lembas. So if it's on a path, which it is, the Hobbit player can use an action, eliminate this card, so that's out. And remove 1 corruption for each Hobbit. There's 2 Hobbits, we remove 2 corruption. Alright, we've neutralised that threat. The Witch King's going to pass, they've got no cards. But now, when we move to Gandalf's got no cards. Now we move to Saruman. Saruman's got a load of monstrous people. The rightmost, Candle of Corpses doesn't help. But the Goblins of the Misty Mountains, they are going to help. That's both useful, and at the Woodland Realm right now, if we were to resolve this, they would lose, right? It would be 1 defense versus 1 attack. We would still win. So it is useful for them to move this card in here. They're going to do so. Now they've got 2 against 1. Yeah, for Bill Ferny now, they can't add anything. They can't add anything here. Yeah, they still can't win anything here. They could add 2. The most they could add is 2, so they're going to hold back from Dal Amroth. They just didn't get enough cards out, and everyone's now out of cards. So everyone's passing all the way back round to Saruman. So we have actually completed now. There's nothing more that can be done. Okay, everyone's passed. So we've reached the end of the action step. We now move to the combat step. In the combat step, we're going to resolve the active battlegrounds. In Fire and Swords, you resolve any skirmishes as well. And we resolve the path. So, battlegrounds. Well, we've got 2. There's nobody here, so we actually won these 2. And the Shadow player has won these 2. So these 2 cards get eliminated. Goblins of the Misty Mountains said it's cycled instead. This one scores for the Shadow player. I'm just going to place this here. Shall I place it here? Yeah, we'll place it here. This one scores for the Shadow. these two score for us. I'm actually going to place these down here for us because they can come back. And maybe we'll place this one up the top here for the shadow player. Now we look at the path. We've got 3 skulls, 1 shield. So 1 cancels out this. Then we've got 2. So we've got to eliminate Frodo and Pippin. But it does say if eliminated for any reason, we cycle it instead. And then Pippin says if eliminated in path combat, we cycle instead. So we've successfully defended. Frodo coming in here didn't draw out any more bad guys, but we did successfully defend the path. These 2 are cycled, and once more the 2 attackers are eliminated. And there's nothing going to save them, is there? No, these guys are eliminated. Okay. And we get the victory point for this because we successfully defended it. So we're actually on 5. And Shadow's on 1. But they do have a stack load of cards in reserve. They've got 7 cards. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So do we actually. So pretty even. Now it's the draw step. Now in the draw step, there's 2 levels of difficulty in this scenario. A shadow player will normally draw 4 cards. We'll draw 3. But if you want to play an easier game, you can have the shadow draw just 3 cards instead. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So each shadow player draws 3 cards into their hand. I just want to check there's nothing. Yeah, okay, no. So Saruman's here. While in reserve, draw 1 additional card each draw. So Saruman's getting an extra 1. So they're actually getting 4 anyway. And then for us, we're getting 3 cards each. 3. Galadriel says, draw 1 additional card each draw step and then cycle 1 from the hand. So not quite as good as Saruman. But we get to choose what we want to keep. We do have an elf army, so that's helpful. We've got the mirror of Galadriel, can be attached to Galadriel, and then the ring of adamant also for Galadriel. Interesting. Maybe I'll get rid of the shipwright. Let's cycle the shipwright. Oh, tough choices. All right. Now you'll note, turn 1, path 1, we had 5 cards in our decks. We didn't manage to save any cards. If we'd have passed with 2 cards in our hand, we'd have 5 now. But we didn't, we used them. So we're going to start round 2, which is going to be tough for us, and probably a little better for Shadow. We're going to start round 2. We've only got 3 cards in each of our hands. We do still have our rings. At any time, it's only once per game though, we can discard this and draw 2 cards. So round 2 is a great time to use your ring, but they are worth a victory point each at the end of the game. So there's 3 victory points sitting right there if we don't use them. For now though, we're moving to the next round, and first player is the Witch King. And they are going to draw a location. It's a shadow player, so it's a shadow battleground, and it is Dol Guldur. The Free People's Battleground, Lorien, must also be activated or reactivated. Well, we've not seen Lorien, so Lorien's coming in as well. And this says the Shadow Battleground, Dol Guldur, must also be activated. So these come as a pair. And then for the paths, let's roll our 4-sided die once more. It's a 4 again, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have Weathertop. Our choices were the Inn of the Prancing Pony, the Old Forest, or the Barrow Downs. These are now worth 2 victory points. Okay. So the hobbits have made it out of Gildor's encampment, and the party is on their way to Weathertop. And it says the Mordor player draws 2 cards. So it's looking good for the Witch King. 1, 2. And it's the Witch King who's going to start us off this time. They don't have anything in their reserves, so they will just be playing a card. And it is the Black Rider's Mount. We have to choose. We can add 2 corruption to a Nazgul on a path, which we can't do. Forsake 2 cards to add 1 corruption, or draw 2 cards. So all that work we did to get that 2 corruption back. I think we're probably going to forsake 2 cards and add a corruption. Do you think? Do we want 2 more cards out, or do we want... Yeah, let's give them a corruption. Yeah, I think so. They got nothing in their reserve. They do have cards in their hands, so they're going to cycle 2 cards and add a corruption. So Shadow player, the Witch King, has already added 1 point to their game. But it's very early days. Round 2 is probably going to be a little bit ugly for us. Well, that's it. I think I'm going to leave it there. You've seen a good part of the game. I'm going to let you... This is a long game. I don't want to do a whole series on this. I've got so much more to show you. But isn't it beautiful? Isn't it great? You know, the gameplay is spot on. It's nice and easy to solo. Even with trying to manage 6 decks, you know, I find it surprisingly easy. If you get yourself set up in a nice, neat kind of way, it doesn't even have to take up that much table space. Yeah, I mean, these cards in our reserves now are available to us. That's one thing to remember. And look out for those errata too. So, designer's intent, this shouldn't have come up. This should still be here. We don't have those 3 points. I mean, is Weathertop worth fighting over? It's 2 points. What about Lorien? 2 points. Dol Guldur, probably a little bit risky. The elves and the wizards are free to come here. Or we could use them to defend Lorien. They've got quite a lot of monstrous creatures which can come and attack Lorien, and they can defend Dol Guldur with their Mordor troops. But as yet, they don't have any. So maybe that could be an easy 1 point to pick up. I'm not sure we've got enough. No, we haven't really got enough to attack with. Though we do, yeah, even with the Sylvan Elves. Well, we've got 3 actually, so that would be enough. If we put the Sylvan Elves and Galadriel, we could take Dol Guldur, but is it worth it for 1 point? Yeah. You've got to play the long game in this game. Well, that's it. That's War of the Ring, the card game with the Against the Shadow expansion, showing you just how engaging the solo game is. And I think this expansion really steps things up a notch. I really think it does. When I first played Against the Shadow, I wasn't overwhelmed with the base game. It was good. It was good 2-player. I played 2-player, but yeah, I wasn't overwhelmed with Against the Shadow. But throwing Fire and Swords in, I think suddenly the whole thing has come alive, and it feels a little bit more like we're going to make a proper game of it. So yeah, definitely worth picking up, I think. And you know, just to remind you though, this is a prototype that Ares have sent me, but I'll certainly be looking to pick up the expansion when it comes to retail. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.